Oh boy, I heard that, brother. We are back here in the dark, here at WLTH 1370. I'm straight out of the cannon with me, Scott Cannon, the cannon and straight out of the cannon. Yes, that voice you heard was a man who was at one point the most decorated Marine in history, Smedley Darlington Butler. One of the most unusual figures in the history of this country, I think to say the least. He spent most of his adult life as one of the most celebrated warriors, warmongers that this country had seen. As he said, he made the world safe for corporate capitalist gangsters all over the world. He was born actually into a very wealthy family, and his father actually served in Congress. So he was not one of these people who came from poverty and sort of needed to go to the military to attain a better life like a lot of people. No, he was somebody who literally believed in the America Empire project. Like I said, his father served in Congress. He actually joined the Marines. He lied about his age and joined the Marines at 16 years old when the Spanish-American War broke out. He would also serve between the 1890s and the 1930s. He would serve in China during the Boxer Rebellion, the Philippines after the Spanish-American War, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Mexico, Haiti, and Cuba. He earned a reputation for his extraordinary courage and frequently led troops from the front and was often wounded. That's why he was so celebrated. During World War I, he was placed in charge of a massive Marine training camp in France called Camp Pontezinen. He organized the camp so effectively that he received the Army Distinguished Service Medal. At the time of his death, he was the most distinguished, decorated Marine in history. He had 2 Medals of Honor, Army Distinguished Service Medals, Marine Corps Brevet Medal, multiple campaign medals, 2 Medals of Honor recognizing his leadership during the occupation of Veracruz, Mexico, and helping to occupy Haiti in 1915. He also was briefly the Philadelphia Director of Public Safety in the 1920s and tried to eliminate corruption, enforce prohibition, and crack down on crime. Now, why am I covering Smedley Butler? Somebody who sounds like an agent of war, of empire, the military-industrial complex. Well, a lot of it is because Smedley Butler, towards the end of his life, made a rapid change. And to this day, amongst us who are anti-war and against the military-industrial complex and empire, it is the words of Smedley Butler that often leave our lips. He repeatedly saw foreign interventions, and he recognized the pattern. He saw that American corporations were often behind all of it. He saw that American forces often intervened in countries where those companies had major investments, in countries where banks sought repayment of loans, and where political instability threatened American corporate interests. He increasingly questioned whether these wars actually served the average man or woman. He saw the human cost. He saw thousands of casualties. He saw devastated towns. He saw civilians suffering all over the place. He saw his comrades in the Marines dying in countries that a lot of times they didn't even know where the hell they were on a map. The Great Depression actually intensified his criticism. Millions of Americans struggled while large corporations continued to profit. And he began arguing that regular, ordinary soldiers paid the price, while the corporate elites, the powerful interests, the banksters, as Franklin Roosevelt called it. One event changed the image that Butler had. It was the Bonus Army March When in 1932, thousands of World War I veterans marched on Washington seeking early payment of their bonuses. Unlike many political leaders, Butler actually supported them. He addressed the veterans and criticized our government's treatment of their former servicemen. He also federal troops under Douglas MacArthur forcibly dispersed the bonus army encampment in an event that would really become very controversial. In 1934, Butler testified before Congress that several businessmen had approached him about leading a movement to pressure Franklin Roosevelt and overthrow his government. Yes, they tried to overthrow the government. One of the men that tried to overthrow FDR's government, Prescott Bush, the father of George H.W. Bush, and actually the grandfather of George W. Bush. Yeah, that's who did it. And so a congressional committee concluded that there was evidence that attempts to recruit Butler had occurred, though the coup itself did not happen. For those of us who are anti-war, we most know Smedley Butler for his most famous work, which is his book, his 1935 book, War is a Racket. Its central argument was simple and plain. Wars are fought by ordinary citizens, but produce disproportionate financial gains for certain corporations, financiers, and industries. He argued that it was the soldiers who bear the greatest risk. The taxpayers are the ones who finance these wars, that arms manufacturers and financial interests, the banksters, profit greatly, and that Congress should be more cautious before authorizing military action. This is 20 years before Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech, mind you. He proposed reforms like limiting military service to national defense, requiring war profits to be controlled, giving those who would fight greater influence over decisions about a war, including a controversial proposal for a referendum among those eligible for military service. And for the rest of his life, he became somebody who fought back against the military-industrial complex. And that's why in my book, Smedley Butler is actually an American hero. So many people take the accolades of empire and they spend the rest of their lives perpetuating it. It would have been very easy for somebody like Smedley Butler, as a child of wealth and privilege, whose father was a politician, who came from wealth, who was lauded and applauded, to become the very war hawk that he despised. But instead, he chose to spend the rest of his life, once he woke up, he chose to spend the rest of his life fighting against the military-industrial complex. And for that, he's a real American hero to me.